Hello and welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast. I'm Ben, as always I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor to bring you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. This week, we're answering even more comments and questions, seeing as you seem to love that last week. We're also talking about Pokemon Concierge, the end of Pokemon TV, as well as the top 20 Pokemon following a recent popularity contest. Conor, were you all right during my introduction then?
Well, you seem to wait until the worst possible moment for me. Usually when I'm taking my last little sip of my drink to be like, oh, okay, we're going to settle in, we're going to be ready, and nope, we're starting. Okay, thanks for that.
Sorry. It's just because like at that point I'm in that zone where I'm like, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'm selfish if nothing else. Conor, are you well?
No, I'm very unwell, as you may be able to hear. I apologize for all of you listening at home. Hopefully the deep, sultry tones of my voice will ease off a little bit at some point.
I can't really tell. And I don't know if Discord's maybe doing some work or your settings on OBS or whatever. I don't know. But you sound normal to me.
Oh, that's good. We'll take that as a win. At points I will have to mute up and just go but I will save that from our audience. You won't have to hear any of that.
If you're lucky enough to be watching this on YouTube, you might see him just coughing up phlegm everywhere. Let's jump in to the first question this week, which I absolutely love this because it's not Pokemon related. I do enjoy the ones where we do get to do something not Pokemon related. And it comes courtesy of Tony, regular listener Tony. What are you reading? What are you going to read? And that gave me a little bit of a chuckle because I know exactly where that segment's from. It's from the Weekly Planet, which I probably harped on about last week a little bit because of potentially stealing some of their ideas or creatively borrowing, I think is a better term. But in terms of reading what I'm reading, I'm not actually reading anything. Well, yeah, it's a bit of a lie. I'm reading a book, but also listening to a book. So, and they're both by an author called Brandon Sanderson. Absolutely love his stuff. I am absolutely obsessed. For those on YouTube, you might be able to see some of his books down there, some of the hardcover books that I've got. I don't know how cropped this is going to be, but I'm reading one of his 4 secret projects that were released or at least announced during 2020 during lockdown, and I'm also listening to the graphic audio version of Words of Radiance. I don't know if you've ever heard about what a graphic audio book is. So you know how an audio book, typically you just get someone who reads the entire book from start to finish. Mm-hmm. A graphic audio book is almost like a movie, except for it's audio only. So all the characters have different voice actors. If they're, for example, in a war, you'll hear like the clash of like swords in the background and hooves. If someone's in maybe a library, you'll hear like a bit of chattering in the background, a little bit of ambience and that kind of stuff. And I've never been a huge fan of listening to books, but that is a fantastic way to just be engrossed in the story. And I'm finding that it's so much fun to listen to when I'm in the car on the way home or on the way back, because the chapters are bunged together. So half an hour journey usually gets me 1 to 2 chapters. It's like the perfect listening experience. So that's me. Like that's what I'm reading.
It's like an audio drama, but with a narrator.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. Yeah, so there's parts where it's the actual narrator who narrates things, but then if a character is like, you know, talking out loud or their thoughts in their head, they're in a dialogue, then they've hired someone completely different to then voice that character.
Yeah, that's very different.
And the quality's like really good, and they're really expensive though, which I can understand why they're so expensive, because the amount of work that goes into these, because like typically a audiobook, you likely pay that one person once to do that book and you're done and dusted. This you have to pay multiple voice actors. Yeah. But then also you're probably paying people to produce some of the sound effects, or maybe you're having to license them off over you know.
You're probably getting a Foley artist in to do all that. So
more than likely. So yeah, so they're expensive, but I think it's worth the additional money. What about you? Are you reading anything at the moment?
I'm not reading anything specifically. I've have very little time at the moment. I fell into a little bit of a photography hole. That's my
yes.
new
passion.
Addiction, shall we say.
Addiction. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
So I've been photographing my dog and trying to get hold of my mate's dogs and photograph those because that's just something I'm very interested in at the moment. It's going pretty well. In my free time, I have been sort of watching a couple of things. A couple of animes are on the go at the moment. I'm still working my way through Spy Family, which if you've never watched it, beautiful, beautiful anime. It's about a spy who is trying to infiltrate a country effectively, and has to get a daughter to join a school to get close to this noble's the wrong word, this politician's son, effectively.
Okay.
So he goes and adopts this daughter, but this daughter is psychic to nobody's knowledge. She's psychic. And then because it's weird for him to just be a single father, he has to get a woman involved. And then she agrees to marry him, quote unquote. But it turns out she's an assassin. So they're all living these double lives. And obviously the kid knows because she's psychic and can read all their minds. Yeah. And then there's a dog that gets involved and the dog can see the future. And what's hilarious is like they're a fake family, but they're just so cute together. And it's just one of those beautiful animes that's just a slice of life. And I love it. I love every minute of it.
So is it predominantly comedy or is it like a typical anime where it's a mix? Is it a mix of like seriousness at times?
It's mostly a comedy. It's mostly a comedy. I have just watched through a few episodes which focus around the mum and her sort of secret job. And it goes hard. Like this really cutesy anime up till this point just suddenly becomes brutal shonen. And it's like, oh, okay. I didn't expect quite this much blood in this show, but I'm here for it. Let's go.
I love that. Fantastic. So anything else on the horizon?
I'm still working through that. I know it's finished in Japan, but I'm watching it dubbed because I'm one of those heathens.
Okay.
So it's still being released weekly. The other thing that's on the list is the last 2 episodes of Attack on Titan have been released.
Okay.
They're both like an hour and a half long each.
Is this Attack on Titan Part 4, Part 1, or something like that? Did they split the last...
The final season, Part 3.
The final season.
The final season.
The final season, Part 3. Right. Okay. Interesting. I need to watch Attack on Titan. I really do because I've heard great things about it.
The first season is phenomenal.
Okay.
The second season's pretty good. I think the third season wavers slightly because they change animation studios and they start implementing 3D into it, and it's not great. Story's still great fun. Season 4, you get another big twist. The first big twist is great. The second big twist is not for me. I'm still watching it. I want to see how it finishes off, but I'm like, oh, that's such a weird way to take this. It's one of those where it adds in, it's already a world where Titans walk around and like there's a certain level of supernaturality to it.
Yeah.
And then that gets incrementally built upon.
Yeah.
Over the series, and it makes sense. And then you get to like halfway through the 4th season, towards the end of it, and it just goes, oh, and this, which changes everything. And the whole thing all along was this one big plan. And it's like, why?
I didn't need that. Why? Yeah.
Why?
That's almost a twist for twist's sake. Like, they're not doing it because they think, oh, this is a really cool story element or story change and it affects the characters. It is, what's a twist that we can throw in right at the end that'll just like get people talking about it? Not necessarily even in a positive way, just get people talking about it. That's a shame.
But yeah, I'm going to watch the last 2 episodes just so I can say I finished it. And then I'll have my own thoughts on it.
Fantastic. Let's move on to the next question. Well, more of a comment, actually, that comes courtesy of Kuro Blitz, and it follows on from our conversation last week about, well, what was the state of the Cantonian and Jotonian?
Yeah.
Jotonian? That sounds weird. I've never actually said that before. Jotonian Elite Four. And this person's commented that maybe it was Norman that was involved in the Elite Four in the champion, and Blue beating him was the catalyst he needed to move to Hoenn some months later. Now there is a bit of I can see that working, because obviously the very start of that game is okay, you are arriving in that region, and Norman's been there a little bit longer than you, hasn't he? So you're settling in, and he's been there for some time. Now, off the top of your head, do you know of any lore that brings in the timeline between the two regions?
I think Gen 3 and Gen 2 take place at the same time.
Oh. So it could
Gen
be Norman
3
then,
takes place 3 years after Kanto. That's to the best of my knowledge. I believe that's the case.
Okay, so Norman couldn't. So Norman couldn't be, because
no, of course he could.
Go on.
So Gen 3 takes place 3 years after Kanto.
Yeah.
So I think the comment is saying, either whether Norman's the champion, or whether, like we suggested last week, which is Lance was the champion and got pushed down, and Norman was the fourth Elite Four member and got pushed out, which again explains why he couldn't get past Bruno, because everybody would get past Bruno otherwise.
It does. Yeah.
And I also like the idea that them coming from Johto, because there's a theory that Whitney is actually your main character's sister and Norman's daughter.
Okay.
From Johto. So she takes over Norman's gym, I think is the theory.
Okay. That makes sense, because they're both normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there could be an idea that, Norman is from Johto, became an Elite Four member, got booted out, became a gym leader, and was like, I'm going to Hoenn.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess my initial skepticism about that was how long it took for Norman's family to come over. But I guess that's just like house prices and stuff. I imagine moving entire areas isn't cheap or easy to do and uplifting lives. Okay, so that works, actually. That works really well. So,
and again, don't forget that within Japanese culture, fathers very often work away from their family.
Okay.
Like in different regions and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's very common.
Okay. So out of the two that we pitched, so we've got Norman there, and we've got Faulkner Senior that we discussed last week.
Who does have a name. I found out that Faulkner's dad does have a name. Yeah, because he shows up in the
is he in the anime?
Adventures manga. He shows up in the Adventures manga. He is, I don't think it's Ace. I think it's something like that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to find it. Stall for me. Walker.
Okay.
His name is Walker.
Oh, wow. Didn't he just stall little Walker?
Yep.
Oh, they missed it.
What were they going to call him? Flyer?
Well, Skywalker. Because he's a flying type. Skywalker. Why? Walker just feels wrong because he's a flying type gym leader. You could have called him Sora or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see
Glidar. There's a few other things they could have called him.
Yeah, not read that part of the manga, but apparently Faulkner has a dad.
Okay, so which one of the two do you think's more likely, Norman or Faulkner Senior?
I think Norman, probably closer. I really like the idea of it being Faulkner's dad, but I think Norman is more likely. Especially considering how strong of a trainer he is.
Norman's one of those strange trainers that, like, some trainers, you just see them they're at that level. I don't see them going much higher. Like Erika, for example. Like, I can see her at the level she's at, but I couldn't see her pushing forward. Whereas Norman, I could quite easily see the Game Freak, when they were developing that game, going, oh no, let's make Norman champion. because he's got such a powerful team, and there's a reason why that gym is seen as a road hurdle in that game, because it is such a difficult one to get past unless you figure out the gimmick of... Like, there's a reason why Game Freak implemented that you can get Protect and a load of mons around there that have Detect or Protect, because the way you're supposed to play that fight is whenever Slacking attacks, you Protect, and then you attack on the Truant turn. But yeah, Norman just feels like one of those trainers that could quite possibly be a lot higher level than he is. There's a few gym leaders like that, and I quite like that. So yeah, so Norman Elite was originally in the Elite Four in Kanto and Johto. You heard it here first. It's are we saying that's canon?
It's
now?
Canon.
It's canon. It's canon. Let's move on to another question, courtesy of King Nido. If we had a sequel to Black and White and Black and White 2, who would you have replace Grimsley in the Elite Four? And would you have a new champion in any new gyms? So,
I don't know why we're replacing Grimsley.
Is it right? So the only thing I can think of is Grimsley is in the Alolan region. You see him in Sun and Moon, right?
Yes.
So
yes, you do.
Either he's on holiday or he's packed in. He's packed it in. He's done. He's dusted. He's gone off. Now, I'm hoping I can lean on you a little bit here, because I don't know. I've completed Black and White twice and Black and White 2 once, and that was some time ago. I don't 100% remember. I remember the Elite Four was, I've got it here actually, Chantal, who was the ghost type, I believe, Marshall, who was the fighting type, Grimsley, who was the dark type, and Caitlin, who was the psychic type. And then you've got the champion, depends on which game you're playing. So Black and White 2, it's champion Iris. And in Black and White, it's technically Alder or Alder,
but you never fight him until post-game.
Yes, because N at that point has beaten him. Actually, this actually resolves a question, because
N becomes champion in the Elite Four that stay the same.
Yeah, Alder doesn't drop down. But that almost, to be fair, that almost feels like something that they've never thought about until Scarlet and Violet of, we need to actually address this.
Well, no, because you beat Blue, and Blue doesn't become an Elite Four member. He gets kicked out.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
So the Elite Four, much like the gym leaders, must be a held position.
Yeah.
And then the champion is the only thing that's, transferable. Much in the same way as when we get to Alola, the Elite Four is set, but the champion is up for grabs.
Yes, true. Okay.
Which means that the Blueberry Academy run things differently into the rest of the world. Which makes sense, because they're kids.
Yeah, it actually just makes sense, because while they call it, this is the Elite Four and this is our league, it feels very much like an unofficial league.
Yes, it is.
So that's okay. So that's how they get away with that. So, we're apparently kicking out Grimsley. Grimsley's just
Grimsley
gone.
has decided to drop out of the Elite Four, move to Alola, and continue his Mantine surfing career under the name Big G.
Under Big G, is he doing
Apparently
well?
that's what he goes by when he's doing his Mantine surfing.
Oh no, are you serious here? He's got
Big G. I'm reading it. Grimsley is an accomplished Mantine surfer where he competes under the name Big G.
Big G. Yeah, I absolutely love that. Okay, so we've got to replace this person. Now, if this was post Black and White, I think it'd be quite easy, because you drop Grimsley out, and I think you just add one of the dragon types, because Black and White was one of those strange ones, and they did this before it was well known in Sword and Shield, that depending on which version of the game you played, you fought either Iris or Drayden in the 8th gym. So that would have been quite easy if you just have whoever was the alternative one in that. However, this is post Black and White 2. So we've got to think about the story. And you know what? Like, what does N go off and do? Post
N
Black and White
goes off
2.
and be a hero of the world, riding around on his big old dragon.
Okay, so he's out because he'd rather go off exploring. What about the three protagonists? So you've got the main character. You've got I always forget the names. I can see them, but I always forget the names.
Sharon, Bianca,
Sharon, and then whoever the main playable character
whoever
is.
you call yourself.
But there's also a rival in Black and White too that apparently is, I think, one of the most hated rivals in Pokemon history.
No, not How.
No, How's Gen 7. The rival in Gen... See, this is what I mean. Everyone forgets.
It's because I just called him Jimmy and hated him very much so. He's horrendous. Where's my Purloin?
Hugh!
Steal my Purloin!
Hugh.
Really? They need Hugh, How, and Hop.
Yeah, I've never actually thought about that. Hugh, How, and Hop. And you know what? For all the criticisms that some of the rivals get, Hugh, I think, is that forgettable that he actually avoids the criticisms. Because, and I think maybe it's because maybe not as many people played Black and White 2 as some of the other ones. Could we potentially have Hugh is in the Elite Four, maybe? He's got a balanced team.
Because Sharon lost Hugh and went on to become a gym leader, which I think is kind of the best that anybody can hope for if they're not the main character.
Yeah.
They're either a research assistant or a gym leader. That's it. That's as good as you like it for you. So I don't see it being Hugh, especially I'd hate to see Hugh as who were we saying? He's not the champion, he's an Elite Four member.
Yeah, I'd say the Elite Four member, because the way I kind of see it is Iris is still the champion, and you've still got Chantal, Marshall, and Caitlin.
Because that's the thing, I could almost see Iris losing her spot and being pushed down to an Elite Four member. And then Benga taking over as champion, who is Alder's grandson.
Who's
you fight him in the you fight him in the Black Tower or White Tree Hollow.
Wait, I've never... Okay, like, I have never even seen this artwork before. What? I really need to go back and play Black and White 2.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
The thing is, there's so much post-game in that game.
Yeah, I need to go back. His team's stacked as well. Latias, Dragonite, and Volcarona, all level 80.
Yep. I mean, you obviously wouldn't use those as your champion, but...
No.
I think you keep the Volcarona... You keep the Dragonite, and then you stack it out with a bunch of other Pokemon. I think there's a lot to be had there.
Agreed. I was trying to figure out, because I get what they were going for with the Elite Four, because you've got Marshall's fighting types who cancel out Grimsley's dark types. The dark types cancel out the psychic types. Then you've got the ghost type, which I get where that is, because
cancels out
ghost
the fighting.
Cancels out the fighting, and then I'd imagine, some ghost types have the poison. Yeah, but I'd imagine some of the ghost types have poison as well, so the psychic cancels out them. So I get what they're trying to go for a little Pokemon square. But who else could you bring in instead? You can't really create another neat circle, so to speak.
What have you got? Fighting psychic ghost. No, it needs to be dark, really, isn't it? Just for that.
Yeah.
Synergy.
So, is there anyone else in Pokemon that uses predominantly dark types that we could see being in that area once upon a time or going over there?
What's Marnie's brother called?
Piers,
because he gives up his gym.
Yeah, he does actually, doesn't he?
So he gives his gym to Marnie. I could see him leaving and going, I'm going to go over to America now.
Yeah, okay. I could see that working. Who else is there?
And then he doesn't have to deal with Gigantamax either, which he hated.
Oh, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, I could see that working. You know what? I could see Sydney working as well. Sydney always felt out of place to me in Hoenn. So he's the fire... no, he's not. He's the dark type trainer in the Hoenn Elite Four. But his artwork always stands out. And I just think he's too edgy for the Hoenn region. Whereas in Unova, I think he'd fit right in. So shout out to Sydney as well.
Did you see Lacey graduating and going to become an Elite Four member?
Who's Lacey?
The fairy type of Blueberry Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Who's like the main Elite Four member we meet initially. So we have that connection with her.
Yeah.
We know her dad's a gym leader, so she's got connections there.
So my only thought about that is she's a fairy type gym leader, and we've said about, progressing up, for example, there's a couple of trainers that couldn't get past Bruno. So like,
well, the difference
what's stopping...
is the Elite Four of Black and White is the only one you can do in any order.
True. But why wouldn't she just beat out Iris with her dragon types? You get what I mean?
Well, she couldn't beat Drayton with his dragon types.
True. Okay.
And Drayton, we believe, is... What's his name? Drayden.
Drayton is the son of Drayden. Is that right?
Or grandson.
No.
We think. So you're talking about a guy who was trained by the guy who trained Iris.
Yeah, okay.
And Iris went on to surpass Drayden. So, yeah, I don't see Lacey becoming champion, but I can see her becoming an Elite Four member.
And Lacey, I don't know if it's been confirmed. This is what you mentioned not long ago, a few episodes ago. Lacey is the daughter of
Clay.
Clay? So that works because of the Unova connection. Oh, okay, right. I've graduated the Elite Four and Blueberry Academy. I've done all that. Okay, now I'm going to test the waters in an official competition, an official capacity. So that could work as well. So we've got a few ideas there.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else though. That is actually, it's the Elite Four that I know the least, but also the Elite Four that kind of has the most synergy. Thinking about it. It has a great synergy that I've only just realized.
Yeah, I think arguably I'd say I know Kalos is Elite Four the least. Maybe I know Wickstrom and Drasna just because they were in Journeys. But like I'm looking at Seabold here, who's the water type Elite Four member, who I just love.
So he's the one that he asks you if food can be art, and you either go yeah, and he's like really happy, or you say no, and that the typical camera pans in, he shouts at you in the speech bubble, like the Kalos Elite Four is the last time they did the Elite Four justice, because you go into each of their rooms and you get a beautiful animation, like the for Seabold, the water shoots up, then you've got the dragon wings open for one of the other trainers, you've got pillars of flames for somebody else. Like I miss that. I absolutely miss that. If you've got a comment or question, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, by leaving it on our Discord channel, by using the hashtag goldenrodpod on Twitter.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes?
Who do you think's the weakest Elite Four member?
Out of all of them?
Out of all of them. Not necessarily, like, strength-wise, but, like, weakest character.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's probably someone that doesn't get much development, just turns up, one and done. Oh, have you got one that you know of while I'm thinking?
I have. Her name's Kahili.
Is she the golfer?
She's the golfer, yeah.
She's the golfer.
Because that's all you know about her, is she's the golfer.
It's just the outfit, isn't it? That's the thing you remember about her.
She shows up out of nowhere, like to the point where when I first played through Sun and Moon, I thought the Elite Four was so unfinished that you just got a random NPC in.
I understand that. Yeah, I completely understand that, actually. Yeah. Like, I was just... when you mentioned her name, and it took a split second, and I was like, the thing is, I didn't even remember her from Sun and Moon. I remember her from Pokemon Masters, because she's one of the common drops. And when you mentioned it, I can remember her outfit, but I couldn't remember her actual face or hair. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember her, but not a lot. if I was to pick anyone, is there anyone else I could pick? Everyone else just seems to have some personality of some kind. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it has to be there. And I completely understand the comments about like just plucking a random person. Also, why is she the flying type? Like, what's golfing got to do?
Because she likes to score birdies.
Hey, that is probably the closest we're going to get. But it doesn't make any sense. Like, could you imagine, like, rocking up to work in, I don't know, a football outfit? And they're like, why are you wearing a football outfit? Well, I just love football in my spare time. Like, it's just, like, the Elite Four is a job.
Yeah.
Unless she's just rocked up from... So, I think you're absolutely right. She is definitely the weakest in terms of character. Let's move on to I can't believe it's 30 minutes in. The first piece of news this week. Pokemon TV is closing down. Now, I don't know how to feel about this because I've never watched it. So I'm possibly part of the reason why it's shutting down, that they just couldn't get the viewing figures. It's a strange one. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like I should mourn the loss more than I am.
So I watch Pokemon TV, I was going to say fairly regularly. That's not quite true. But it was available on the Switch as well.
Okay.
As well as online. And I've used it a lot because they moved things like Origins off of YouTube. So when I've had to go back and research that or get clips from it, I've used Pokemon TV for that. It's been a bit... Pokemon TV is weird because it doesn't always have like full seasons.
Oh.
It'll have random movies and random like chunks of seasons. So at the moment I can see there's bits of Diamond and Pearl, bits of X and Y, bits of Sun. Well, I think all of Sun and Moon is there. Oh, it does look like all of X and Y is there. And yeah, a bit of Black and White.
Is that because maybe that's because of the model that they have, and this might tie into why they're closing it down, is that they lease out certain series or parts of series, and part of that agreement is, oh no, we'll pay you X amount to host it on Netflix, for example, but you cannot also have it on Pokemon TV during that run.
Oh yeah, so it's definitely a licensing issue, but
yeah,
like they've got one movie on there at the moment. And there's like
what?
20, 30 nearly Pokemon movies, I'm pretty sure.
That's I get why. I think I get why that's happening, but it's just bizarre. I understand. Okay, so I understand why you would want to lease these things out, because like if it's all on Pokemon TV, you then have to do the bulk of hosting it and then marketing it to get people into that to watch it. Whereas if it is on other streaming if your shows and movies are on other streaming platforms, you don't need to do the marketing for that. You can just let Netflix advertise it based on its internal algorithms that it's got. So I completely get that. And I guess actually now I'm thinking I probably get why Pokemon TV is closing down, because it's probably we can't warrant the costs of hosting all this and doing a streaming. It's essentially a streaming platform when they're not getting the viewing figures.
Subscription. There's no payment.
No, it's completely free, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder why they've not gone down the advertisement route then.
Because Pokemon tries not to the best of their abilities. Like, again, this is why the TCG doesn't really have any microtransactions and stuff like that in it. They try and be friendlier than that.
Okay. Which we should give them credit for, because
absolutely
other companies would just go, oh yeah, let's just get as much money out of this as we can. And we're starting to see, streaming services struggling, shutting down, increasing prices, including ads on paid versions as well. So I can understand why they've done this. But on the plus side, it looks like there's still a load of places to watch this stuff. Like say, BBC iPlayer, for example. This is you mentioned
Y at the moment.
Has X and Y, Black and White, Diamond and Pearl, Pokemon Horizons as well.
Does it?
Yeah, that's what this says. Makes me wonder if it is on there at the moment.
I'm gonna go check.
Netflix, we've got Pop, we've got Prime. It's on Prime. Sky Kids, YouTube. I know YouTube's more than just the Evolutions, Generations, Twilight Wings. I can go on. Is it on there?
Yeah, the first 6 parts are on BBC iPlayer.
Oh, are they?
Which, for those of you in the US and stuff like that, just get a VPN.
Yeah, get a VPN and just give them just log in
and tell them you have a TV license. Don't worry, no one's checking.
No one's. You'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. And if you're not fine, we're not paying the fine. So there's plenty of places to watch these. So I understand why they're doing this. I am sad about it, which I don't understand why I'm sad about it. I don't know why I have like this feeling of, maybe it's guilt. Maybe I'm guilty. Maybe that's why. But if actually, you know what? Like I remember when we were watching Pokemon Journeys, and the issue we had when we were reviewing what was the last season? Master Journeys? Yeah.
Ultimate Journeys.
And I can't remember.
Because it should have been Master Journeys because it made more sense, but
that was it. Yeah, and it was Ultimate Journeys. And the absolute hassle that we had hunting down, at least I did, hunting down that final season
because it was on Pop TV at the time, so we couldn't watch it on Netflix.
Yeah,
because again, licensing issues, and Mummy and Daddy don't want to play nicely.
Exactly, but it wasn't on Pokemon TV, was it? Because I'm pretty sure when I was searching for it, it would have got, you get those articles of this way you can watch it. Nowhere said about watching it on Pokemon TV. So I guess I would feel a little less bad if, you know what, I'd be more upset if I knew that this was the go-to place to go for any of that, and I didn't have to do what you always have to do with, okay, is it on Netflix at the moment? Is it on BBC iPlayer? And you have to go after all these different streaming services. So, I think they've, maybe by doing all the licensing, they've dug their own grave. But again, from a business perspective, I completely get why.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
As you say, hosting videos is expensive and clearly not worth it anymore for them.
No, despite the fact that they make so much money. Let's move on to the next piece of news, which is going to be really short, but it's more of a shout out, I think, more than anything. That the Pokemon Company has donated 50 million yen to aid Japan's earthquake victims. So this is following the earthquake that occurred January the 1st. I want to say Noto Peninsula earthquake is what I've got written down. I'm going to assume I got that right. And they've donated 50 million yen to the Japanese Red Cross Society. You did the maths beforehand. How much roughly?
It's about 500 grand, roughly. I think it's more than that, but
okay,
yeah.
Which, like, 500 grand doesn't actually sound a lot. It's 500,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Like, fair play to the Pokemon Company for doing this. And they're not the only gaming company. I know Square Enix is paid, donated some as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Have you got anything else you want to add to this?
Apparently the pound has suffered really badly. Apparently it's only £270,000.
Boo, Pokemon Company, boo. There's still a lot more.
Either the yen is doing really well all of a sudden, or the pound has dropped. I mean, the pound has dropped, but
the pound has dropped a long way, and I think this year it's going to drop even more with general election at some point. Anyway, this is not a political podcast. Have you got any more thoughts you want to add to this this small news story?
No. Thoughts go out to all those suffering. I've spoken about my trip to Japan before. And one of the things we did when we were out there was go to a little sort of island off the south called Hirado. And we didn't realize at the time that we were being invited to the town hall to meet a bunch of people who we had donated to when they suffered from the tsunami. Because we just had a charity day at school. which is like,
Yeah.
oh, wear your own clothes, come in, we'll have a day and you can spend a couple of quid. We were young and stupid and didn't even think what it was going towards. And suddenly we're in the middle of Japan being faced with people standing up, trying to read in the best English they could, literally in floods of tears saying about like, I lost everything. I lost my husband. I lost my kids. The money you donated allowed me to rebuild at least some of my life. So thank you for everything you've done. And we were just sat there like, oh, I just wore my own clothes to school. I don't deserve this. Oh no.
How old were you?
When I went to Japan, 16, 17.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because so you were in high school when you did the donation and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at high school you don't think about the money. It's just like, I get to wear my own clothes. This is amazing.
Well, again, like the years before, we'd been donating to raise money to get a minibus for the school, so we just didn't think about it.
No.
But yeah, it was to do with the tsunami. So I've quite literally seen the impact that donations like this can have on families. Big up.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And, you know, I think companies they get a lot of bad press because of, companies got to make money. But then there are times when actually, they, after all the taking, they do actually give back sometimes. So fair play to the Pokemon Company for doing that. Let's move on to the final piece of news this week, which is going to be an interesting one. And I'd be interested to see how you think we should tackle this. So just over 150,000 people have voted in a popularity contest. I've seen this. It says Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I initially thought this was only for Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet, but I think it's Pokemon
no. They did a previous one.
Okay.
They did a previous one that was Paldean Pokemon only, which is interesting because Tinkerton won that one. It was the same
this one,
institution. It was GameWith that ran the poll, and Tinkerton won it. I think it was Tinkerton, Clodsire, Meowscarada. Was the top 3.
Okay. Who were all in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, shall we just take a look? I want to start at the bottom because there's a few interesting ones in here that I didn't expect. So, Slitherwing is in there, which is actually looking at it, the only Paradox Pokemon.
I mean, it is the strongest Paradox Pokemon.
Is it? How come?
Not strength-wise. I think it's the best one.
Oh, just because of diversity and... Okay.
I just think it's a really cool design.
I agree. I love its design. I just thought there might have been... I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking. I just thought that... You know what I think it is? Actually, thinking about it. Because some of the other Paradox Pokemon feel over-designed, whereas Slitherwing doesn't. Slitherwing actually feels like... Yeah, you could potentially see that as being an ancestor. Like, if that had been bought out as a fossil Pokemon, for example, I don't think people would have batted an eyelid. Whereas some of the other ones, if you bought out as a fossil Pokemon, they would have gone, wait, what? Like, Screaming Tail and Flutter Mane, they just don't feel like they're... Yeah, so, fair play to Slitherwing then for getting that.
I'm still listening. You'll have to host for a minute.
Okay, he's off. He's going. So, up next is Alchemy, which just blows my mind. By the way, leave a like down with that. Blows my mind that Alchemy is on here as well. Now, I'm just going to say this because Conor's probably sick and tired of me talking about this. I'm still shining hunting Milcery, okay? There's 64 Milcery to get, and I've got 34, 35, maybe.
Have you settled on how you're going to do it then? You have decided to get a shiny for every version, even if it doesn't come out black.
Yeah. Well... Okay, I've said that I have, but I've encountered potentially a major issue because at the moment I haven't updated the game because if you don't update the game, the event just keeps running indefinitely. However, the epilogue gets released. Is it this week or next week?
I forget, but we're also getting update 3.0.1 soon.
So it's fine. I can get around that because I just, when it pops up on the Switch, do you want to start the download? And you can just play anyway. So I'm going to do that. But when this epilogue comes out,
January 11th. Ooh, tomorrow.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And we want to review that next week.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the way the Switch works, you don't update the profile, you update the actual game software, which means that the Milcery mass shiny outbreaks are going to go. So my plan is tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, probably just try and get as many as I can. And then Sunday, Monday, epilogue, ready for Wednesday when we do the actual thing. So so I want to get all 64, but actually I might have had my wings clipped by just the release day of this epilogue.
So have you tried to evolve into one of these shiny, not shiny Pokemon yet?
Not yet. I'm just catching all
so
the
you don't even know if it works.
So no, I don't. I
do you want to do that first?
No, because and the reason I haven't is because I don't have all the sweets yet. Like, I don't have enough sweets to complete it. So
no, but
you
surely have enough sweets to be able to go, oh, I can check that there is such a thing as a non-shiny, shiny alchemy.
Yeah, I probably should have done that, but I probably should have done that, actually. Maybe I'll do that later on, and then it'll save me a bit of a headache. I mean, the fact that I've gotten this many, but I've also done all the what are they called? The little floaty flat floettes, and that's evolution line. I've got all them, all 15 of them, done and dusted. The Chandelure, all 3 of them, done and dusted. But this Milcery, and the thing is, the reason I've just been so dedicated to it, because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it, because how often these Milcery events going to come around? Yeah. Definitely not in Scarlet and Violet's lifetime. Maybe not even in another Pokemon game in the next year or two. So I'm trying to get them. Anyway, Alchemy is at number 19 on this list. I didn't realize Alchemy had this amount of love. I'm not sure why Alchemy has so much love. Is it just because it's like in people's minds at the moment with the recent event?
Sorry, what was the question again? I was double checking to see if Alchemy have shiny forms, but apparently
why?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but so I'm right. They're all like
supposedly. I still doubt somewhat, but yes.
Yeah.
What Flygon? Why is Flygon?
No, Alchemy.
Why is
Alchemy in 19? Yeah, it's just like a really bizarre. And the only thing I can think of is it's in people's consciousness because of the recent event, and it just looks really cool as well. Though it's a gimmick Pokemon as well, just with all the different like toppings and the swirl colors.
Yeah, again, it made more sense in Sword and Shield where it had the G-Max form, which was like Big Cake.
I love that one. I love Big Cake.
I really enjoy it as well, but I think without Big Cake, Alchemy is like,
It's just average. It's just one of those average Pokemon. Yeah, exactly. Flygon. Flygon's another strange one. Why's Flygon?
Flygon, I don't get the love for Flygon. I understand that it's a dragon that you can catch earlier in Hoenn, and maybe people like it for that. But every time I've picked up a Flygon, it has underperformed for me.
Agreed. The only reason I can think Flygon gets the love, not even the love, the only reason it gets the attention it deserves is because some people feel that its typing is wrong, and therefore they lean a bit more into it because they feel sorry for it, or they feel like they've been, backhanded by Game Freak. Because
it should be Bug Dragon. That's fine.
Yeah,
but it should have got a Mega. That's also fair.
Yeah,
I think the excuse of we couldn't come up with a design isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's 18th best in Paldea.
Oh no, agreed. Now, if you want a Pokemon that I think should be in the top 20, Sprigatito. Definitely think that should be in the top 20. Sprigatito is a Pokemon that's grown on me because there's so many cat Pokemon, and then we only had a cat Pokemon in Sun and Moon, didn't we? And to introduce one so close to that, and yet I think Sprigatito ranks higher because of its final evolution. It's got a really strong evolution line, and I think that elevates Sprigatito in people's eyes.
I still really wish that Sprigatito went Grass Fairy.
Oh, how come?
It's first, and I understand that it goes grass dark because it separates itself from its initial form.
Mhm.
But the first form is so cutesy that I would have preferred it to stick with that, or maybe go down like we saw the leaks, quote unquote, leading up to it, and like the saber-tooth tiger fairy grass designs were phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
So to me, Meowscarada is like,
Oh, okay, right. I can understand that viewpoint.
Honestly, I don't think any of the final evolutions from Paldea are good starters.
Okay,
I think Quaquaval's horrendous.
I love that design.
I hate it so much.
I am one of the few, and I don't know if it's because that was the starter I chose. And then I just love how it struts. It's like, oh, look, here we go.
I was looking at picking up Quaxly, and then I saw its final evolution and was like, nope, never.
Okay.
I hate it. I hate everything about it.
That was me for thingy. I always forget it's Fuecoco's final evolution. I always forget what it's called. Skeledirge. Love the name. Love the concept.
Really strong.
Cannot get behind the design.
Really, really strong, especially in Paldea. Its signature move, Torch Song, is great. I love the little Firebird. I don't think... Yeah, I think it's over-designed.
Yes.
In a really weird way. Its face has too much going on.
Yeah.
And I really, really do not like Crocolock. Is it
It's Crocolore. Disgusting. Yeah, whatever it is. Funnily enough, when I
also
found
feels a
that
little
evolution,
bit racist as well.
I get why you think that.
Considering this is Spain, not Mexico.
Not Mexico. It's almost like, I don't know why they went with that design. And I almost chose Fuecoco as my starter because I was doing my first playthrough of Scarlet and Violet was as part of a cage lock with British Eagle. So I picked Quaxly, he picked Fuecoco, and then he evolved his Pokemon. And I just remember us both just being in silence when we saw it of, this feels like one of those Pokemon that has been, when you see a fake mon and someone's designed it, like, look how cool this Pokemon is, and they think it's cool, but nobody else thinks it is. That is what that middle evolution stage is to me. But I do agree that, at least with most Pokemon games, you usually get 2 out of the 3 starters having good designs. There's usually that, black sheep of the family, like Chestnut, for example, but all the rest kind of hit home. But this is the one where I think for the most part, the final evolutions of Quaxly and Fuecoco just completely split the fan base. And Meowscarada, I think, is more towards the majority of people are positive. But like yourself, there are people that just think it's just another grass dart. What is there about it other than it has a little apparently floating flower? Which, sure. Anyway, 16 on the list, Garchomp. I mean, Garchomp's
always going to be there.
Garchomp's always going to be there. Number 15. Is this the only? No, there is another evolution on here. So Glaceon.
Not the one I pick.
No. So there's who else? Umbreon and Sylveon.
Sylveon are both on here. Umbreon's probably my favorite. I understand why people like Sylveon.
But Glaceon this felt like out of left field. Who wants Glaceon's just a really strange Pokemon to rank in this list.
I prefer Leafeon to Glaceon. I think out of those two, I think Leafeon's stronger.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Above that, 14, we've got Pawmi. So we have got... Do you not like Pawmi?
Pawmi's design. Do you know what? Pawmi, I think, would have been stronger if it was like all the rest of the Pika clones and didn't evolve.
Yeah, its evolutions... It becomes electric fighting, which I enjoy that combination. I enjoy it a lot. But...
The fact that the second evolution just stands up, and then the third evolution just sticks the ruffles around its neck.
Really weak design, isn't it? It almost feels like, to me, either they should have gone, it's either Pawmi or Pawmot, and it's just a single stage evolution.
Yeah.
I feel like that
would have been
worked
stronger.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think they should have combined Pawmi and Tandemaus. You've got these two different mouse designs. I think they should have just been one.
No, I think they should have done Pawmi and Pawmo as the same Pokemon with different forms.
Okay.
So you can have the electric form, or it can become a fighting form.
Okay. So it wouldn't be like thingy from Gen 8 that switches between the two. I can't remember its name now.
No, I think because that's done, I think the hangry form of... What's it called? Doesn't matter.
I've completely forgot. The hamster, yeah. I completely forgot what it's called.
But
that's gonna bug
that was
me.
fun. I don't think it should flip back and forth. I think it should be closer to like Meloetta, where you can... Oh, no, Meloetta uses a special move, doesn't it? And changes. Yeah, that kind of work. If you used like a punching move, it stood up and became its fighting form. That could be fun.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that as well.
And its ability could change as well to be Iron Fist when you use a punching move. And again, it just makes it stand out a little bit more.
A little bit more. Yeah, rather than what we got. Number 13, Ceruledge. That doesn't surprise me.
Probably the strongest design coming out of Paldea.
Yeah, it is a really good design. What about Armor Rouge? Are you a fan of that one?
Yes, I like it, but Ceruledge is just cooler. It's edgier.
Yeah, it's edgier. Yeah, it is literally edgier. Yeah, you're absolutely right there. So 12.
Speaking of edgy.
So this is when... Yeah. Number 12, Umbreon is in there. Like I say, Umbreon seems to be a Pokemon fan favorite. People just are drawn to it. Mm-hmm. I've never had a huge Umbreon appeal, but I can understand why people like it. Number 11.
There's a level of minimalism to Umbreon.
Yes, it's not over designed, is it? It's just very simple. Yeah, I can understand that. Number 11, Teal Mask Ogerpon. I'm glad that we get Ogerpon in this.
Yeah.
As someone that has been using it in the second piece of DLC, I'm just loving its versatility, but also just its design. It's just a happy little Pokemon that wants to come on an adventure with you. I love it. It's
been running riot and competitive as well.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Just because of its diversity. The fact that it has the three different masks.
Ivy Cudgel is just such a great move.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely busted. I've been using that on single player, and it's just so OP. Number 10 is Gardevoir, or Gardevoir, however you pronounce it. That's not a shock. I'm hoping people have based this on abilities, moveset, and not just the overall design. You know who you are. You know who you are.
I mean, considering number 1, I think...
There's a lot of Number 9, Gengar. Gengar, again, always one of those that ranks highly in these.
Yep.
It's just got a fantastic design. Looks really good. Clodsire. I love Clodsire.
He's just a happy little guy.
Exactly. That's what I love about Clodsire. He's just such... Like, Clodsire is just adorable. Like, and you know what? The fact that they have created a Pokemon that is predominantly one of the most hated colors in the world of just bleh, it's brown, and they've made it and it's got the most boring eyes, and it's just a round blob, and yet people just seem to love it for some reason. I don't know why. I love this Pokemon. I absolutely love its design.
He's got that level of like you haven't come across the Squishmallows yet, have you?
No, I have recently.
He's got that kind of look to him where it's just like you want to pick him up and go, bleh, and see his little eyes go, where?
Yeah, no, I see it now. Maybe maybe that's why that's ranked so highly. Number 7, Mimikyu. Again, yeah, great design. And same with number 6, Lucario as well. I mean, there's a few of these that I want to go back and revisit the Scarlet and Violet ones, because there's a few of these that kind of push out some of the strong Scarlet and Violet designs, I feel like. We got number 5, we've got Tinkaton, which is a fantastic design, absolutely fantastic. And there's a piece of dialogue that I came across the other day in Scarlet and Violet that mentions about, it's a trainer that, what did they say? They say something along the lines of, I've heard that, what's the flying Iron Bird Pokemon, not Skarmory. The other one, it's the
The what?
Introduced
The fighting?
no, Flying Steel type introduced in Gen 8. The Corviknight.
Corviknight.
Someone mentions, oh, I've heard that there's a Pokemon that hunts Corviknight. I would love to see that Pokemon. It's the fact that it is just literally a big pink blob with a hammer. I find that amazing and fascinating. I absolutely love it. And I'm glad that is, in this list. Number 4, Sylveon. Again, just a fan favorite design, even though I think you mentioned last week it doesn't feel very fairy-esque.
No. It's cute, but that's like
cute.
all it's got going for it.
Yeah. Number 3, Chandelure, which again ties into this thought that I have that this was run around the same time or close to the Shiny Outbreak event. The fact that Chandelure's on there, because Chandelure is a good design. I enjoy it, but number 3, I don't see that, I'm afraid. But the final two, I'd love.
I think
to discuss.
Chandelure is amazing. Actually, I think
Yeah.
it's one of those designs that escaped me from Gen 5 when I thought all Gen 5 designs were bad, and it just isn't. It's just one of those standout ones.
It is a fantastic design. And Shiny's beautiful as well. So number 2, Fuecoco. This actually does not surprise me that Fuecoco. So I just remember the love this Pokemon got when it was announced, and all the images, and people just fell in love with this the design of this cute little crocodile. The crocodile. And just the design, like the fact that its face is supposed to like represent a skull. It's just a happy little boy, like Clodsire, just happy to be involved and just having the time of its life. And then number 1, we get Meowscarada, which I still don't know how I feel about this Pokemon. I get it, but actually, you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, why is it dark type? Because it's a trickster?
Yeah, I guess.
Mischievous?
Because it uses its magic to distract you and then slap you when you're distracted.
Which I get. But like, if it's like all, trickstery, that's typically, like, say, associated with like fey elements.
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually, now that I'm starting to come around to your way of thinking that grass fairy, and we've only had a couple of grass fairies, haven't we?
Yeah, I think you've got Whimsicott. I can't think of any others off the top of my head.
No. Is there any, just before we wrap up, is there any Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet that you are amazed are not on this list?
Well, I've got last year's list,
okay.
which was done by the same company. So this is obviously, the game had not long come out. So we can see what the change is. So the Pokemon that are missing: Quagsire, Skeledirge, Eevee, Iron Valiant. It's really surprised that's not there. Luxray, odd addition. Love Luxray, but odd addition. Charizard, Volcarona, Hydreigon, Dragapult. Fantastic Pokemon. Still one of the best pseudo-legendary designs we've had. Miraidon and Koraidon. People obviously
they're not even overdone. To be fair, they're just the ride Pokemon at this point.
Mousehold, Pawmot.
Okay.
And number 6 last year, so it's completely dropped off, was oh god, what's his name? What's the fish? What's the tiny little fish?
Oh, Tatsugiri,
thank you.
Tatsugiri! I love that.
It dropped off completely, and it was number 6 last year.
Hey. I'm amazed the Nilape isn't on there. Like,
Nilape's great design.
That seems to be like a fan favorite. There are a few other Pokemon that I just thought are that much fan favorites that I expected them to be on there, like Chiampao, however you pronounce it. Goldengo, I thought might have gotten a bit more love. Again, are you not a fan of Goldengo's design?
No, I don't like it.
I do like it, but I understand the comparisons of he's the cheese string man. Completely get that comparison. What else? Trying to just Houndstone and Greavard. Surprised they're not on here.
None of the dogs are on here.
No. There are a few
I
Pokemon.
think,
Mabostiff you'd expect to see on there.
Mabostiff, yeah, because it's part of the story as well. Like, I fell in love with Mabostiff.
Oh yeah, no, definitely agreed there. There are a few Pokemon there that I expected to see on there. I'm just thinking about any of the recent Pokemon. Maybe surprised, maybe Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt on there, but because their designs
this was done
really
in
strong.
December, so they'd have only really just come out.
Okay, that makes sense. Overall, I don't think the most accurate list of Pokemon. It just doesn't feel. 152,000 people have something to answer for, I feel like.
But the thing is, these are the Japanese polls as well, and they usually don't represent the same as like Western culture.
Okay.
They like very different Pokemon to we do.
True. That makes perfect sense. So next week then, we're discussing the epilogue, which wraps up our journey, I want to say, of Scarlet and Violet. Thinking back to when we started this podcast, we weren't that far into producing. Like, we were probably only a couple of months in, weren't we, when things started to get released?
Did we start the podcast during the hype season?
We might have done. It was about 80 odd weeks ago. I have to work it out, but now I'm
It's
really
fine.
curious.
I'll go back and look, because you know full well that we'll have included something that's like a new trailer.
Yeah, we would have done. We're having a race at this point, me and Conor are, because I'm on Acast just to find out. I want to see. Let's put in the comments down below. Who do you think is going to win? Conor means business. Look, he's putting his headphones on.
Oh no, my other one just died.
Hold on. No way was our first. That can't be right. Our first episode.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet trailer breakdown.
Yeah. Oh, this is weird. Oh, so this is when Pokemon, because in the timestamps, Pokemon Journeys episode 1 discussion, as well as the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet discussion. Oh wow, so we started during hype. We have, like, this is the thing, Scarlet and Violet, we have been on this journey. We started the podcast at the start of hype season. We have been through the ups, the downs, the release, the DLC, and the next week it almost feels like it comes to an end, because the epilogue for Scarlet and Violet comes out. I can't see us getting much for Scarlet and Violet after that, outside of raid updates, in terms of new Pokemon. Not even new Pokemon, sorry, the re-release of older Pokemon.
And we've missed 2 weeks, I think, since we've started uploading. So that's 83 weeks of Scarlet and Violet.
Oh, that is crazy when you put it into perspective. So we're due a new game then, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, we'll get one announced in February, almost guaranteed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, I completely agree. And then the hype season starts all over again.
We go again.
Fantastic. just want to do a quick plug before we wrap up this episode. If you haven't already, please do head over to my YouTube channel, where I've done a recent Then We Fight video, which I think is quite funny, but I don't know. You might have a different sense of humor than me. Who knows? But anyway, if you could show some love, some support, watch the video, leave a like, leave a comment, I would really appreciate it. And that's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just top dollar, aren't you? Before we go, as always, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video if you're watching on podcast, on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast on whatever platform that you listen to it's on, if you could leave a 5-star review, we really appreciate it. And it really helps out the podcast. Conor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Captain Fidget, or on Twitter at CapFidget.
And I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and I cannot speak today. Professor Hoenn on Twitter. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon Podcasts content.
See ya.